2, the gentleman from Texas, Mr. Culberson, and a member opposed will each control 5 minutes. Chair recognizes the gentleman from Texas.
Mr. Chairman, one of our principal responsibilities here is to be good stewards of our constituents' hard-earned tax dollars. It's a responsibility that I know each one of us takes very seriously, and my amendment today will ensure that we apply the same common sense standards to the investment of our constituents' hard-earned tax dollars that we do in the investment of our own dollars. You, in your own life, would not loan money or invest money in a business that was so poorly managed that it took on more debt than they could manage, and you wouldn't put your money in a company that had taken on so much debt that their debt exceeded their liabilities. And certainly if you were applying for a bank loan, a bank would not loan your business money if your business had more debt than it had assets. And that's all this amendment says, is that the federal government will not invest our constituents' hard-earned tax dollars in a transit agency that has more debt than they do liabilities. My amendment ensures that the minimum asset to debt ratio that a transit entity can have is 1-to-1. It's common sense. This is sort of a working guideline that I know the Transportation Appropriations Subcommittee, on which I work, and the Federal Transit Administration has for years wanted to be sure that the agencies out there, transit entities across America, have no more debt than they do assets. So the amendment says the federal government will not issue a grant, federal transit grant, to an agency that has a ratio of current assets to debt that exceeds 1-to-1. Very straightforward, very simple. Let's protect our constituents' hard-earned tax dollars in the same way we would protect our own. In fact, it's actually much higher obligation that we have to be good stewards of the Treasury as responsible representatives. I urge adoption of this amendment, and I reserve the balance of my time.
Gentleman from Texas reserves. What purpose does the gentleman from Oregon rise?
I rise to claim time in opposition.
Gentleman is recognized for 5 minutes.
Yield myself such time as I may consume.
Gentleman is recognized.
This is an unusual amendment, to say the least. There is no measure of assets done regularly for our transit systems in America. In fact, the only measurement that is done is that we have an $84 billion backlog to bring our existing transit systems up to a state of good repair. So that means basically, I'm sure everybody would fail this test. So if you want to do away with transit in America and get them out of the trust fund, something that Ronald Reagan made a high priority, and he put transit into the trust fund. He was the first Republican to support that, and they've been in ever since. He said we cannot ignore our urban centers. They are the engines of economic growth in this country, and we can't ignore them, and we need to be able to move people efficiently in those urban areas. So since then, we have had a modest proportion of the trust fund, about 20% generally, going into transit. That's not adequate, as is not adequate for bridges. 140,000 need replacement or repair. It's not adequate for highways. 40% of the system is failing and it needs total rebuilding. But an $84 billion backlog in transit, they're killing people right here in the nation's capital because of the state of disrepair. It's an embarrassment. There's no transit district in the United States of America who makes money. So what is this about? I don't get it. We're not lending them money for them to make a profit and pay off loans. They all receive federal support, and they need more federal support. In fact, in my travels, I've only been one place where they claimed a transit district made money, in Hong Kong. I urge you to go ride there at rush hour and see if you enjoy that experience. It's not very good here either, but in any case, no one else claims to make money, and I don't know if they really do. It's a communist-dominated state, so it's probably not true. So I don't understand the amendment, to tell the truth, and would urge my colleagues to oppose it. And with that, I would reserve the balance of my time.
Gentleman reserves. Gentleman from